Hey there, friends and enemies, JoPaWrites here once again, and today I have a brand new Genshin Impact video for you. This one is highly requested from folks that I know that have just recently started playing the game, and it's an updated new player's guide to Genshin Impact. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Helps me out tremendously, shows you want to see more content like this. We are busting out lots of Genshin content, especially as we roll on towards 2.3, which I am very excited about, especially for the new characters. Now, one of the main things to keep in mind with Genshin Impact is the end game is not really that deep at this point, so you don't have a reason to worry about the meta. That's first and foremost. I see people so concerned with having the most meta characters. This game should be about having fun, find the characters that you really enjoy playing, and roll with that squad. There's only one thing in the game that really requires a super strong team, and that is the Spiral Abyss, and that resets one time every 2 weeks. So I wouldn't concern yourself totally with that, because there's a lot of stuff to do before you get that point. And so once you're at high level, you'll probably be ready for the Spiral Abyss anyway. But the first thing I would say for folks is to determine what type of player you are going to be. And the reason I say that is there's a few different categories folks put themselves in with Genshin Impact. Obviously, there's some variation within those ranks, but there's the whales, the budget spenders, and then there's free to play. Free to play means obviously you're not spending any money, so you're going to be very, very stingy with your primo gems when you're wishing. Okay, so you're going to want to target certain 4-star, 5-star characters. Probably never going to wish on the weapon banner, and this banner you'll only use your fates for. You won't actually wish on that either, because it's just not the most efficient way to do things. Now, if you are a budget spender, normally what that means is you're going to be a little bit more efficient with the way you spend money. So you're going to go after something like the Welkin Moon, which is inexpensive, but if you're logging in every day, you're going to get 2,700 primo gems for the cost of $5 American. And if you go here, $5 to get you 300 crystals. So that's only about you get a bonus too, so that'd be 600 wishes. So that's not really going to be comparable to what you would get from this, especially because you also get 300 Genesis crystals from the Welcome Moon. Next up, if you buy the Welcome Moon and you don't want to spend any more money, or you only want to spend a little bit more money, the next thing is going to be the Battle Pass system. So if you're able to complete this Battle Pass, it is hugely rewarding. They make it so this Battle Pass, you got resin, you get fates, you get character books, you get Mora, weapon materials, everything you could want. And at the end, you'll get a ton of primo gems, as well as some other talent books and all that kind of good stuff. So all of this is to say that your most efficient money spent is going to be first and foremost on the Welcome Moon, then on the Battle Pass, because you'll get a lot of wishes, and then spend whatever top ups you might need if you want to in order to pull on the characters that you want. Going a little bit more in depth in the wishes, there's a couple things to keep in mind. One, this banner here has a limited number of characters, so you're not going to see some of the characters you really, really want coming out of this banner sometimes. So that's why there's a wide range of characters you can get here. You can get a Chi-Chi, who's considered one of the least strong characters in the game, but if you really want her, obviously you can try to chase her. But there's so many characters you can get on this banner, it's just not very efficient. It's weapon banner. Now, this upcoming weapon banner that's coming out the next patch is going to be really good, but it's still not the most efficient if you're just starting out, or if you don't have a set of teams that you really, really enjoy playing currently. And now this banner is going to be where you're going to be spending most of your primo gems, especially as you try to get constellations on some of your 4-star characters, because there are characters like Bennett, there are characters like Xingqiu, which are 4-star characters, but with enough constellations are roughly considered 5-star equivalent characters for most people in the game, especially as supports. So you really want to target your 4 stars here, as well as understanding that if you want the 5-star on this banner, that's the way to chase them. I also see a lot of misconceptions with the Paimon's Bargain Shop. So a couple things to keep in mind. One, you want to save your star glitter if at all possible. The reason is someone like Bennett, who, like I said, is considered one of the best 4 stars in the game. You can get him, or you can get his constellations in the star glitter exchange, which is absolutely huge. Lisa, if you want her, you can get her as well, but it's a guaranteed character, so you're gonna want to save your star glitter for that. Same for these. Some of these Black Cliff weapons are very good, especially when you're first starting out. So you might want to save for those as well. You really don't want to be buying fates from the star glitter exchange because it's just not the most efficient way to do things, and it's pretty expensive when it comes down to it. If you, for like one pull, that might be a blue and a 3-star and not a 4-star or anything of that nature. So you'd have to spend 50 of these 50 star glitter in order to get a guaranteed 4-star character. Whereas obviously, if you look here, you get a guaranteed 4-star for 34, and then here these weapons are guaranteed 4-star at 24. So that's why that's more efficient. However, Stardust, freely spend your Stardust if you want. Just remember, at the beginning of every month, you'll be able to buy 5 intertwine and acquaint feints. So that's 5 wishes on each. As long as you have the Stardust, this is absolutely huge, and will give you basically 5 free pulls in each banner every single month, as long as you have enough Stardust, which is pretty easy to rack up as long as you're not just hoarding your Primo Gems for one specific banner in the long run. Now, once you actually dive in and start playing, there's 3 things that you're going to want to really focus on. One is daily commissions. Every day you get 4 of them. They reward you with materials and Primo Gems. They're very important. Do those. They take a maximum of like 10 minutes, if that, for the most part. Secondly, you're going to want to spend your resin because that does refresh, so you want to make sure you spend it. Now, one of the things you can do, I have 70 there. You can actually stock up on condensed resin, right? So if you're not logging in every day, you want to use all of your condensed resin in domains. You want to fight bosses, all that kind of good stuff, and then you can actually basically double how much resin you're using in a day by using all of your condensed resin, using all of your regular resin, and then by the time you log in 2 days from then, you can actually buy more condensed resin, and that makes it a little bit more efficient, so you don't have to log in each and every day. Or even if you log in and don't log in for a couple days, at least you've used it all, so it allows it time to refresh. So that's something to keep in mind, and something that I don't think a lot of people are doing often enough. They feel like they have to log in every single day. Now, as far as the battle pass, you're going to want to make sure, if you are a battle pass player, to do as many of these each week as possible. A lot of them are pretty simple, but there's a couple to keep in mind that will be very helpful that I'll go over. But so the daily commission's huge. They count towards the battle pass. Using your resin counts towards your battle pass. And then finally, you're going to focus on the main story missions. You want to clear those out, because not only are they going to help you advance as the story, which I think is underrated in Genshin Impact, but it's also going to allow you to access different locations on the map, such as you have Inazuma down here, you have Dragon Spine, all of these kind of locations that you can't really get to. They won't really allow you to explore those fully until you have done some of the story missions. So keep that in mind, and especially if you're a new player, as you're going through, make sure you grab all of the teleport waypoints and all of these statues, because that's going to help your life tremendously. Every single one you come across, because then you can just fast travel everywhere you want to, and it makes it just so much easier than having to run everywhere, because there isn't any kind of vehicle system and movement is fairly slow. You can help that with running 2 Animo characters, because you will get a speed boost, and there's certain characters that do move around the map a little bit better. Ultimately, though, you're going to want to teleport as much as possible. Now let's talk a little bit about where you can spend your resin and how to be most efficient with it. So first and foremost, you have a couple trounce domains, which is the boss fights, which if you fight 3 of them per week, you actually get a discounted cost. So basically, you're going to want to target the 3 of them that you want to fight the most based on what materials you need for your characters, and go fight them basically day one of every weekly reset, because that's going to be the most efficient. You can also fight some of these ley lines. They're not the most efficient. You can use the condensed resin on them if you really want to, but this is just if you need to top up. If you absolutely need more, if you absolutely need character books, from there you're going to look at your domains. Now, the domains really depend on what you need for your specific account. You can get talent books, which are huge if you want to max out your characters. You can get artifacts. Farming artifacts is going to be one of the most time consuming and resin consuming things that you do in this game. However, it's the way that you're going to get the best character skills and stats. So keep that in mind. All of that is going to be a little bit more advanced for now. When you're first starting, you're going to want to focus on leveling up your characters, leveling up your weapons, making sure that you get up to level 80 or level 90 eventually. And then after you hit that point with your characters, that's when you can start worrying about basically how much you can now min-max a little bit with some of your builds, what characters you're going to want to really focus on as far as statistics and crit rate or whatever stats you want, whatever artifacts you want. In the beginning, it's not going to be something you need to stress about too much, because I know a lot of people end up changing things up a lot. So again, for me personally, I'm not too concerned with any of that until you get to the end game, and you're really gonna be then focusing on all of the different characters that you want to fully build out in order to beat the Spiral Abyss. But like I said, there's really nothing else out there that's so difficult that you need to worry about min-maxing your characters. Some people really like building out their characters completely, and then
we're way behind schedule.
It just gives them something to do in this game and gives them a reason to get excited about farming for the best weapons, the best artifacts, the best all that kind of stuff, upgrading your talents. But like I said before, it's not fully necessary, and I think a lot of people overrate how much you really need to min-max in this game because of the lack of major endgame, in my opinion. Now, some other things to consider as you're spending your resin and all that kind of stuff, especially early on, you don't have to really be too concerned about how efficient you are, just because I feel like a lot of people get paralyzed by choice, and that's something you want to avoid. If you have the resin, better to spend it and then you'll get it back over time rather than not spending it at all. That's honestly my best advice for folks. There are so many things to upgrade in Genshin Impact. From the statues of the 7, you have your worship statues, you'll get Primo Gems, Electro Signals, Shrine of Depths, you've got your Grand Narakumi Shrine, Sacred Sakura. This is very, very good to level up. You get a ton of rewards there. And last but not least, make sure you are doing each and every week
please do us a favor and clear this up at your earliest convenience.
Your bounties and also your requests. Now, you'll have quests here that'll level this up. You'll have these bounties that you can do one at a time. The max level is very rewarding. Then the requests are also pretty rewarding. These are super easy, about daily commission easy. But the reason you want to do all this is because you will get reputation rewards with some things that'll help you out. Especially here, if you look at level 9, the Electro Treasure Compass. That can come in really handy as you're looking for various treasures. And you'll have one of these to upgrade on in Inazuma, in Leeway, and also Mondstadt. So lots of things to upgrade, and even more than what I mentioned. It's a lot to do, but also very, very rewarding if you're able to remember what to concentrate on. So those reset every week as far as the commissions and stuff. So keep that in mind. I didn't really touch on the world bosses too much, but I wanted to say that they're not that difficult, but they do scale with your level. So as you're going up your account level, the world bosses are going to get a little bit more difficult, but they are necessary. They're the materials that you're going to need in order to upgrade your characters. For example, Aloy needs the cryohypostasis or cryoregispines for that, cryohypostasis for this material. So that's just something to keep in mind as you're leveling your characters, which world bosses you need to focus on depending on which character you want to level up. I made a mistake a little bit early on as well. You don't need your support characters to be level 90. Once you hit level 80, that's good for most of them, unless they're a damage dealing DPS character, and then you're going to want to level them up to level 90. The other exception is going to be someone like Zhongli, who scales off of max HP. You're going to want him leveled up as high as possible as well, because that's going to make him a bit better and his shields are going to improve. Or if you're doing a HP build for him, something to keep in mind. But otherwise, level 80 is fine for a lot of your support characters, and you don't really need to go past that for a lot of them. There are so many side things to do in this game, from finding chests and hidden puzzles, from the Serenity Pot to fishing. Find what gets you excited playing Genshin Impact and really focus on that and do that as much as possible. Some of the things that I've gotten from the events and whatnot, and from chests, you get gadgets that are follow you around in the game, like this Shiki Koshu, all that kind of good stuff. It makes the game a lot more enjoyable to me personally. You can have your characters in your Serenity Pot. There are some gameplay advantages for the Serenity Pot as well. So if you build up your area, your location, you can make a garden to harvest certain materials you might need. There's so much to do that you, one, don't want to get overwhelmed, but two, don't be surprised if you will constantly uncover new things that you're enjoying when you log into the game for the first time or for the first couple months, because there's going to be a lot. Even though there is no real end game, there's going to be plenty of stuff to consume your time with if you enjoy that type of content. One of the coolest things about Genshin Impact is they do have events pretty much non-stop, and some of them you can get really cool rewards. Like, for example, the current one, you're able to get a free Xinyan. Now, she's not seen as the best character in the game as far as 4 stars go, but a free 4-star is fantastic, and if you already have her, you'll get a constellation. So definitely don't want to miss out on these events, because they can be very, very rewarding. On top of that, you also get a Crown of Insight and a bunch of Primo Gems, lots of things that you're going to want to take advantage of in the game, because these events are one of the more rewarding things. They are not always super difficult, but they can be a lot of fun if you kind of dive in. You might have seen some of my other videos where I used random teams that members selected to challenge this Labyrinth Warriors event, and it made it very difficult, but it made it a lot of fun because I use characters I don't normally run with. So I highly recommend, once you get to the point of everything feels pretty easy and you're able to do everything in the game, mix it up, try some characters that you wouldn't normally run with. The rewards for the Spiral Abyss are very, very good, so you want to make sure that if possible you're doing as much of it every 2 weeks as it resets as possible, because you're going to get 600 Primo Gems. That's basically one guaranteed 10 pull per month by just doing the Spiral Abyss. So on top of the Mora and all the other rewards that you'll be getting as well. Highly recommend. Also, the test runs, do them. They're pretty simple. You can try out characters, see if you like them. You get primo gems, you get some character materials as well. So even if you're already have a character, sometimes they can show you a little bit different way to play, or a different team composition you might not have been ready for. Now, in combat, the main thing to remember is elemental reactions. If you look at certain characters, like if you have Hydro with a cryo character, you're going to be able to freeze. You can melt with cryo and pyro. These things can all come in handy quite a bit, because obviously, look, they can't attack me if they're frozen. And then you want to pair your elemental skills of different characters. That'll give me a shield. That'll debuff them. And you can throw all these together to come up with your major attacks as well. So elemental reactions are huge. You're going to want to test how they work with the various characters. The best ones in the game right now are Vaporize, which is Pyro and Hydro, but that gets a little bit convoluted as you look at how it works with each other and which character is vaporizing, which character is applying Hydro or Pyro. So it can really mess with things and make it a little bit more difficult as you're testing your team compositions. So there are teams that seem like they might work and end up not really. Now, as far as artifacts go, I don't have, I think, the best artifacts on these characters because I was just wanting to show them off. But you really want to look for things on like crit rate or crit damage. You want to look, those are going to be your top two most recommended things on every single artifact set, besides someone like Kokomi, who doesn't really benefit from the crit rate, crit damage. But also then you're going to look at your elemental mastery. That's going to affect your elemental interactions. Your energy recharge is obviously important. That's how fast you get your ultimate or your burst back. And so this synergy is all very, very important and something to keep in mind as you're going forward, because you're going to want to save all of your 5-star artifacts that have a lot of crit rate, a lot of crit damage. So that's just something to keep in mind, because I know a lot of people make the mistake of looking for attack or HP or defense early on because they want to buff their characters. But honestly, once you get towards the later part of the game, if you have someone like Daona, who not only can provide you a shield, but now she can also heal you, it just makes it so it's unnecessary to have too much HP or too much defense. It's not really a necessary stat in this game because it doesn't affect things enough to make it worthwhile. Overall, you notice I didn't fully focus on combat the whole time. I think a lot of people have this misconception that combat is all there is to do in Genshin Impact, and that is not the case. Obviously, you're building towards combat eventually, but all of the tips that I would give to you for combat, or the majority of them at the least, would be more advanced and not something you really have to worry about until you're past level 80, to be honest. Once you're at that point, you're going to want to look into some more advanced tips and tricks, and maybe I will do a more advanced guide once we see how this video does and see if you guys do enjoy this type of content. So I think that's something we could definitely consider. But at this point, the combat in Genshin Impact is relatively easy. If you're looking for a real challenge, this is not the game that is going to be it for you for the most part. If you're looking to have a chill game where you're exploring, you're having a good time, you are able to enjoy the story, you're able to enjoy the events, you're able to enjoy everything that the game has to offer, that's where Genshin Impact is going to come in and be a positive for you, in my opinion. Don't look at this as a game that you're going to basically have a real difficult combat time. Early on, it will be challenging. You can make your life a little bit easier, but ultimately it's not going to be the most difficult game you ever come across. And I actually am kind of grateful for that, because I feel like it definitely makes it easy to jump in for a lot of people. And once you get towards the end game, once you get towards some of your more challenging content like the Spiral Abyss, then you can really min-max at that point. You can melt. That's a lot of fun. You can drop nuke damage and do like one-shot bosses, all that kind of stuff. That's really enjoyable, but it's not necessary, and there's really no content where you have to nuke bosses. So it's fun, but not a requirement to play in this game. So that's why I didn't focus on combat as much as I might have otherwise. I will say, to make your life easier, if you want to, shield characters can be good, or either a shield character or a healer. I have both on this team because Bennett also buffs characters, but you don't really need both unless you're just getting absolutely destroyed, so keep that in mind. And overall, enjoy the game. Let me know in the comments down below where you're at with the game. Would you like to see a more advanced guide? Do you need a combat guide? Do you need an artifact guide? Any of that kind of stuff that would help you guys going forward. My name is JoPaWrites. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you all later.